What sucks about being a man? 5 years ago, my life changed in a second when my abusive and violent wife snapped. She attacked me while I was holding our toddler, and our baby was in the crib. I grabbed my son and drove to my dad's house in another state, hoping to keep us safe. Not long after the police called, she'd reported that I'd attacked her, stolen the car, and kidnapped our son. I told them my side, thinking they'd understand, but they told me to come back to New York and check in with the detective. So I did, and was arrested on the spot. I spent the night in jail, charged with domestic violence. The court slapped a restraining order on me, banned me from seeing my kids, and refused to let me return home. I lost everything I owned, including my medical equipment. I had to start from scratch, so I got a small place, bought clothes, and tried to make a fresh start. The court also ordered me to attend an expensive and weekly domestic violence class for over a year. The class was strict. Even if you missed even one session, you were cut from the classes and reported to the police. They also only talked about men hurting women. When anyone asked about women being violent, they get called out for blaming the victim, so I kept quiet about my story. Then they stole almost my whole salary for child support. I barely had enough for food and rent. I also had diabetes, so I went without meals and had to skip my medication just to keep up with the payments. When I couldn't afford the class fee for 1 week, I was kicked out and threatened with jail. I had to stop taking my meds altogether just to get by. After 2 years of this, I finally won 2 hours of visitation every Saturday. But by the time I saw my youngest son, he already took his first steps, turned 3, and started talking. I missed all of it, but the abuse still didn't stop. One time I showed up and she blocked the door, screaming at me in front of the neighbors. She kicked me in my groin, so I called the police. They told me to walk it off. I fought every step, talking to lawyers, joining support groups, trying to tell my story, but my lawyer finally told me to plead guilty. Going to trial would destroy me. I took the advice and ended up getting another year of that class. Life's still tough, but I'm holding on.
My daughter put a boy in the hospital, and I've never ever been prouder. My daughter was in chemistry lab when the basketball star knocked over their experiment accidentally while showing off to his teammates. The chemicals ruined her partner's competition notes. 3 months of research destroyed in seconds. She'd endured weeks of his harassment, including stolen research and damaged equipment, so she grabbed a beaker of blue indicator solution and dumped it over his head without a second thought. Nobody knew he was severely allergic to one of the compounds in the solution. His face swelled instantly, and he collapsed gasping for air on the lab floor. The teacher quickly administered his emergency EpiPen and called an ambulance, while other students backed away in shock. My daughter called me from the principal's office, terrified about what she'd done and convinced she'd be expelled before the end of her senior year. I rushed to school to meet with his parents and the superintendent. The basketball coach showed phone footage thinking it would help their case. Instead, it clearly captured the player deliberately ruining the experiment, laughing at their distress, and shoving her lab partner when he tried to protect their work. You could see the exact moment my daughter decided she'd had enough of his behavior. His father's demands for expulsion died as he watched his son's behavior. My daughter got detention, but he lost his spot on the team. As we left, her lab partner asked her to co-author their project. Sometimes justice wears safety goggles. I saved my little sister from my mom's new husband, and now my whole family hates me. My sister Emma is only 13, and mom remarried last year to Dave. At first, he seemed nice, buying Emma expensive gifts and taking her shopping, but something felt off. The way he'd watch her eat at family dinners made my skin crawl. When Emma stayed at my apartment last month, I noticed she barely touched her food. She used to love my mac and cheese. It was our special comfort meal since Dad passed away 3 years ago. That's when she broke down crying. Dave had been making comments about her weight, calling her chubby, and hiding snacks from her. He'd even started weighing her every morning before school. Mom didn't believe us when we told her. She said Dave was just trying to help, and that Emma was too sensitive. But I saw the food diary Dave made Emma keep, where he wrote cruel comments in red pen and how he'd yell if she ate anything unhealthy. He even installed cameras in the kitchen to monitor her. Last week, Emma texted me at 2 a.m. Dave had thrown away her dinner because she got a B+ in math. She hadn't eaten all day. I drove over immediately. When I got there, Dave was screaming about discipline while mom just stood there. I packed Emma's bags right then. Dave tried to stop us, saying I was overreacting. Now Emma lives with me. Mom keeps calling, saying I'm destroying her marriage. The rest of the family thinks I'm causing drama. But yesterday, Emma ate a whole burger without crying. She's finally smiling again. That's all I need to know. I did the right thing. I found out my mom was stealing my identity while I was still in high school. I was 17, working part-time at the mall, saving up for college. Everything seemed normal until I tried to open my first bank account. The lady at the bank looked confused, typing quickly. There are already 3 credit cards in your name, she said, and they're all maxed out. My stomach dropped. I had never opened a credit card in my life. When I got home, I checked my credit report with shaking hands. The more I read, the sicker I felt. $15,000 in debt. Store credit cards, personal loans, multiple late payments destroying my credit score, all opened when I was 16. I remember the new furniture that appeared in our house last year. I confronted my mom that night. She was sitting on the couch, watching TV like nothing was wrong, eating takeout she probably bought with my credit. When I showed her the report, she didn't even look sorry. You weren't using your credit anyway, she said, like she was borrowing a sweater. I needed the money after your dad left. Besides, you owe me for raising you. I called the police. They came and took my statement. Mom just kept watching TV, telling them this is what family does. But the officer saw all the evidence. 2 weeks later, she was arrested for identity theft. She got probation and was ordered to pay everything back, but our relationship was dead. I'm 22 now. My credit is finally fixed, but I haven't spoken to mom in 5 years. Her Facebook posts call me an ungrateful daughter who abandoned her over a simple mistake, but I'm just grateful I caught her before she could ruin my life completely.
My coworkers always pressured me to join their expensive lunch outings, but my revenge was served colder than their overpriced sushi. Every Friday, they'd go to this fancy sushi sushi place where lunch costs $50 per person. They pressure everyone to join, saying it was for team bonding. I always said no because I bring my lunch to save money. I was saving up for my mom's medical bills, but I never told them that. Last week, they started making fun of me, calling me cheap and antisocial. The final straw was when they started a group chat to mock my homemade lunches, sharing photos and laughing. That's when I hatched my plan. I agreed to join them this Friday, but I had something up my sleeve. The day before, I talked to my boss about our lunch break policy. Turns out we're only allowed 30 minutes for lunch. Their fancy sushi adventures always took 90 minutes. I mentioned how they shared photos mocking other employees' lunches. The boss's face turned serious. Her daughter had been bullied for the same thing. So on Friday, while they were all ordering expensive rolls and fancy drinks, I got my food first and headed back to the office right on time. They didn't even notice I left, too busy taking photos for Instagram. 2 hours later, they all rushed back in looking panicked. The boss was waiting. She gave them all written warnings for extended breaks and toxic behavior. Now they eat at their desks, and nobody calls me cheap anymore. They even started bringing lunch from home. Sometimes the best revenge is simply following the rules and letting karma do the rest.